This is Southern Cross News with Rachel Williams.
Good evening, thanks for joining us. A Taiwanese national has survived a scary two-night ordeal alone in bushland near Cradle Mountain. Our reporter Tom Johnson joins me now with the latest. Tom, what is the woman's current condition?
Well, Rachel, the terrifying ordeal has left the 27-year-old with a badly broken ankle, hungry and dehydrated. She has spent 2 nights stranded out in the wet and cold without proper clothing or shelter before emergency crews managed to find her at a location called The Gap around 11 this morning. To make matters worse, bad weather meant the Westpac rescue helicopter couldn't reach the woman, forcing crews to carry her to safety on a stretcher. Right now, she's being cared for at Pelion Hut, but she won't be able to be flown to hospital until the weather clears. The Taiwanese national had been residing in Hobart. Her family back home has been notified of the situation by police. Rachel.
OK, thank you for that, Tom. Tom Johnson there with that. The government's proposed Taswater takeover is back in the spotlight tonight as debate gets to boiling point over what's best for Tasmanian households. The Taswater chairman accusing the government of quoting doubtful figures and making false claims to sell its new solution to decades-old problems with the state's water and sewerage infrastructure.
Out to prove the worth of the planned takeover.
The Liberals' proposal for Taswater will see our infrastructure fixed faster and see Tasmanians paying far less than under Labor.
But the company in the spotlight isn't having any of it. Taswater chairman Miles Hampton releasing a scathing statement against the government, saying it continues to quote doubtful figures and make dubious claims to try and convince Tasmanians that the takeover's worth it. The government firm that under the takeover plan, households will save more.
Under the lazy Labor proposal, Tasmanians will be paying more. They'll be paying 5% over 6 years, resulting in $550 more out of the average household.
But these claims are rubbished by Mr Hampton, who says households will be more in debt because of the government's proposed extra borrowings to pay for the plan. The opposition remains insistent that improving the water and sewerage system doesn't need government intervention.
The government is deliberately misleading people because those boil water alerts will be fixed by August next year. In their attempt to create a problem with Taswater, all they've really done is diverted attention away from the fact that they've been a do-nothing government.
Meanwhile, Labor is still firmly on the campaign trail, launching Sarah Lovell's campaign for the seat of Rumney. The election's next month and Mrs Lovell will be contesting against Tony Mulder. Louise Hedger, Southern Cross News.
An independent fishing body has conducted a survey to gauge public opinion about a proposed multi-million-dollar salmon farm on the state's east coast. Wreckfish Tasmania says the results show the majority of respondents in the local area are against the project.
Tasal's proposal to build fish farms on the east coast continues to cause tension. Wreckfish Tasmania deciding the community should have its say on the proposal.
We thought it was necessary to do a survey of the district to see what the people's opinion was, not what we think, because the people, if we live in a democracy, the people have got to have a say.
1,400 copies of the survey were distributed across the Spring Bay area. Nearly 90% of the responses were against the Oakhampton Bay proposal.
So that's a pretty conclusive result, and it really begs the question, you know, as the parliamentarians say, do they have a social licence to actually let salmon farms come in there? This survey clearly says they don't.
The independent fishing body hoping the strong results will influence public opinion.
There are other options that are happening internationally. Those options are clearly stated that on land closed-loop systems are the way of the future. They don't pollute the ocean and they are acceptable and they are feasible.
The government today saying it understands it's a balancing act.
I think what Tasmanians are saying is that they support a sustainable industry, but they want to ensure that it is sustainable, that it's not causing harm to the environment, that it's been done in a way that can be sensible from an environmental perspective, but also create jobs for Tasmanians.
A statement from Tassal says we respect that some people do not support salmon farming. However, this survey cannot be used as an accurate gauge of opinion. Alexandra Sykes, Southern Cross News.
A young Tasmanian entrepreneur has made his mark on the world stage, producing a vodka made from sheep's whey. Grandview Distillery is the only company to make alcohol from the waste product, and it's proving to be a Tassie success story.
Sheep and vodka is an unlikely match, but this young entrepreneur shows he can make it work. Ryan Hartshorn developed a method to reuse sheep's whey that would otherwise be wasted after making cheese into something special.
It's the protein that I'm turning into alcohol. You need a basic sugar to be able to create alcohol, where whey is a complex sugar. So I had to find an enzyme that would actually convert it from basically a complex sugar to a basic sugar for it to then ferment.
The process took about a year to perfect, and making a smooth spirit wasn't a smooth ride.
There's a lot of angry nights where things just weren't going right, because I later found out that it also depends on what cheese you make as to how it will affect the whey result. So that was a tough one.
The majority of factories dispose of the whey after making their product, but Ryan shows his small Tasmanian company doesn't follow the pack.
So we've always been feeding our whey back to the sheep, so they're a bit upset now because they're not getting as much whey as they used to.
How can we kind of be a bit innovative in what we're doing in reducing our waste, because there's so much that just gets chucked in the bin that really can be utilised in other ways.
Just last week, the Spirit won the Best Varietal Vodka at the World Drink Awards and is the only one to make it into the World Finals.
You can learn as much as you want out of a book, but you just got to get out there and get your hands dirty.
Louise Hedger, Southern Cross News.
The frontrunners for this year's Targa Tasmania are preparing for one of the wettest events in recent years. But the conditions aren't taking any shine off the cars here to race, including one extremely expensive entry.
A mass assembly of magnificent motor vehicles, but a jet black beauty steals the spotlight. One of the world's most expensive cars, this LaFerrari will set you back $4 million.
But the traditions of Ferrari racing actually is before Formula One, and it's actually from the Targa Florio and the Mille Miglia, which are very, very famous races from around the world. And of course, Targa Tasmania is the ultimate road rally for in Australia, or probably Southern Hemisphere.
It's one of the 200 cars racing and touring in Targa. After our hot lap yesterday, Matt Close says he's relaxed and ready to defend his GT2 title.
If it's wet, who knows? It's just going to be who takes their brave pills in the morning.
Stage 1 tomorrow leaves Launceston for the East Coast. Jim Richards has seen it all before. This is Targa number 25 for the Motorsport Master. A repeat offender when it comes to enjoying breakneck speeds.
And nowadays, I mean, you're silly if you drive over 100 kilometres an hour and 100k limit. So you get these nice cars and you can't really enjoy them.
Jason White is out to make amends after his 2016 campaign ended due to engine issues.
And then the final turning point was when the dipstick flew out of the engine and landed on the other side of the engine bay.
The 6-day rally will cover nearly 500 kilometres of the state.
Us 4 plus another 10 guys can win it, so anything can happen in Targa.
Tom Johnson, Southern Cross News.
Almost 5,000 Tasmanians have flocked to this year's Fitness Expo on Hobart's waterfront. A variety of exercise and nutrition options, inspiring the public to make a healthy change.
It's not your average expo. 98 exhibitors running, lifting and strutting their stuff, showing Tasmania's strong range of exercise and lifestyle options.
Yeah, so for some it's supporting their friends and their family that are competing in the events that we've got here. For others it's about seeing some of the different products that are in the industry, and then others it's asking advice. It's that face one-on-one opportunity to talk to the professionals.
The event attracting some of the state's strongest women and men, all of them gathering today to compete in the Tasmanian WRPF Powerlifting Championships. The competition set to see some Australian records broken.
People that wouldn't normally come to a powerlifting competition will get to see it, and they'll probably think, well, maybe I could do this myself.
It's not just for the gym junkies and health nuts, many just looking for inspiration for a positive lifestyle change.
What we're doing is we're trying to promote health from the inside out. So oftentimes we get caught up in addressing symptoms, where our nervous system, our brain and our spinal cord control everything. In 1997 I was in a near-fatal parachute accident, and I learned about chiropractic and the importance of physio and massage and diet.
It was really interesting to see how many like how much fitness is really in Tasmania and Hobart. So yeah, it's really good because you don't usually hear about this sort of stuff, so it's good to come just check it out.
Organisers hoping the Expo will become an annual event. Alexandra Sykes, Southern Cross News.
Brick by brick, buildings and bridges have been built entirely from Lego for the 5th annual Bricksation. The event drawing in hundreds of curious onlookers with pieces submitted by children from 35 different schools. A centrepiece has been this reconstruction of the Batman Bridge, chosen to honour the structure's 50th anniversary next year.
That was about 2 months to build. I actually built a smaller version to get my head around the concept, but that one took me about 2 months to build and about 5,000 Lego pieces.
Organisers say the event is growing in popularity as more schools become involved. We'll start sport tonight with the Seabull, and the Launceston Tornadoes have won 3 on the trot, handing Sandringham a 24-point defeat at Elfin Stadium last night. Taylor Roberts continuing her good form, contributing 23 points.
With fresh legs after a week off, the Tawns came out firing. A 22-point opening quarter left Sandringham in a spin. Lauren Mansfield simply couldn't be stopped. The captain creating the early buffer, giving Ben Rush breathing space.
Mix it up.
The Tawns turning up the attack in the second quarter, even the scorekeepers were feeling the heat. As the tally grew, a fan favourite joined the party, Olivia Chugg sinking a basket in game number 100. More cheers came for Taylor Roberts, another strong performance, providing 23 points and 6 rebounds in front of the home crowd. The Sabres succumbed to the Tornadoes' torment. The final score, Launceston 76, Sandringham 52. Meanwhile, Sandringham had more success in the men's game against the Tall Timbers Thunder last night. The visitors coming out on top, 70 points to 63. Tom Johnson, Southern Cross News.
And teenage speedway sensation Jock Goodger has finished on the podium at the Australian Speedway Championships in Sydney. The 16-year-old from Launceston took out 3rd place in the Formula 500s. It was Goodger's first time racing at Valvoline Speedway and follows another top 10 finish at the national titles last week at Murray Bridge.
Good evening. Well, a pretty ordinary Sunday about the place today, wasn't it? Cloudy about the state, some drizzle in a lot of areas. Temps in the south and east and central areas up to 4 degrees below the April average. Hobart a cool 14, 16 for Launceston and Devonport, 17 in Burnie. 21 though was the state's top recorded on Flinders Island, almost balmy. 17 at Scottsdale and on King Island, 15 at Ouse, Fingal and St Helens, with 20 at Strawn and 14 at Grove, Campania and also there at the Friendly Beaches. Now the high-def satellite sequence shows plenty of cloud over southern Australia. Look at that. Plenty of clouds streaming over the state. There's also a bit of cloud over Western Australia. The northern half, though, reasonably clear. And the close-up sees clouds streaming over Tasmania and rotating around that low over Bass Strait. Now tomorrow's chart sees a low in the west of Tassie there and into Bass Strait, a high in the Tasman and a cold front there in the Bight. Now coastal waters and winds northeast to northwesterlies at 10 to 20 knots, becoming variable at 5 to 10 knots in the northwest later in the day. Swells though to 3 metres in the west and south. A shower or two in the south tomorrow. Hobart 20, Dover 18, Ouse 19 degrees. Looks like a wet start for Targa Tasmania tomorrow. Launceston and Devonport 19, Scottsdale 18 degrees. Showers for Burnie and Strawn 19, Stanley 18 degrees. Showers in the east, St Helens 19, Swansea 20, Ross 18 degrees. As looked at Tuesday and rain forecast across the state, so it looks like a very wet Anzac Day. Showers and cool to cold across the state for us there on Wednesday, with things starting to clear up on Thursday. Showers in Melbourne tomorrow 22, a nice day in Sydney 25, and a shower possible up in Brisbane 26 degrees. And currently cloudy around the place, 13 in Launceston and Hobart, 14 in drizzle on the northwest coast. And Rach, I believe there's the panda story to finish us off tonight.
We do have one. Thank you for that, Ken. That's all your news for now. Thanks for joining us. Have a great evening. Good night.